if we weren't both fighters, absolutely. I could see myself being friends with him in a different life. But when you both know that you are, there is even the smallest possibility that at some point we may fight, a friendship can never be formed. And even though, you know, when I met him in that gym 10, 12 years ago, I don't know how many years ago it was, you know, I was obviously cool with him. You know, we shook hands, we talked, we spoke, we would have spoken, but I can't be friends.
Chris Eubank Jr. has just made a shocking revelation that could change the narrative of his rivalry with Conor Benn. He revealed that years ago, when they first crossed paths in the gym, he actually saw the potential for a friendship, but he immediately shut it down. Why? Because, even back then, he knew there was a real chance they'd eventually face off in the ring, and he was determined not to let emotions get in the way of business. Imagine that. Two young fighters, sons of legendary champions, standing face to face. But Eubank Jr. had already made up his mind. It was all about business, not bonds. While Ben may not have thought much about it at the time, Eubank saw the bigger picture. He didn't want any friendly gestures or handshakes to cloud his judgment when the time came for them to fight. Now, that cold, calculated decision has led to one of the most intense and bitter rivalries in modern boxing. With everything at stake, the question remains, will Eubank's mindset give him the edge, or will Ben rewrite the story and shatter the narrative once and for all?
Or did he had too much to do and too much to prove. But he's done it. He's an undefeated fighter now. He has, you know, he has a fan base, a big fan base in boxing. So now the fight makes sense. Now the fight is being demanded by the public.
Chris Eubank Jr. is not holding back, making it crystal clear why this fight had to happen now, rather than earlier. In his eyes, Conor Benn had too much to prove and too many doubts surrounding his place in the sport. But that's no longer the case. Ben has put in the work, remained undefeated, and built a massive fan base that has the boxing world buzzing. The demand for this fight is undeniable. It's not just a fight. It's a spectacle the public has been eagerly awaiting. Finally, the moment makes sense. Eubank understands that timing is everything, and now that Ben has firmly established himself in the sport, the stakes are higher than ever. There are no more excuses, no more questions to answer, just two warriors ready to settle the score. The only thing left to find out is whether Ben's rise has truly prepared him for this moment, or if Eubank will expose the cracks and send him crashing back down. The countdown is on. Who do you think will come out on top? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and like this video if you're hyped for the fight.
I think Chris is leaps and bounds ahead of Conor. You know, his experience, the guys he's been in with, you know, take away the weight, because, you know, Chris is obviously going to be disadvantaged in there with the weight as well. But just ability, you know, boxing skill set is on a completely different.
On the other hand, Harlem Eubank isn't holding back in his belief that Chris Eubank Jr. is on a completely different level compared to Conor Benn. For Harlem, it's not just about size or strength. While many are focused on the weight difference, Harlem sees the true gap in boxing ability, experience, and overall skill. Chris has shared the ring with some of the toughest fighters in the sport, testing himself against elite-level competition. On the other hand, Ben, despite his aggression and knockout power, has yet to face the kind of adversity that Chris has. Harlem acknowledges that Chris will be giving up size due to the weight cut, but even with that disadvantage, he's convinced that Chris' experience will be too much for Ben to overcome. It's not just about who can punch harder. It's about who has the ring IQ, the ability to adjust, and the composure to handle high-pressure moments. In Harlem's eyes, Chris is simply on another level, and when the fight happens, he fully expects his cousin to prove, without a doubt, why he stands far above Ben in the world of boxing.
But I think with Chris, this is purely business. This is purely business. I don't think he quite likes him very much. No. But I'm telling you now, it's a good thing that Conor's in Spain. Because imagine them two bumping into each other on London High Street on a Sunday afternoon.
We don't need that, do we?
No one needs that, no one wants it, but it's inevitable. So you literally have to navigate your way through these camps and keep these two boys away from each other, because
keep the lid on.
I've been there with this kind of animosity, and I've been there with this kind of domestic rivalry. It eats away at you. It's not nice. No. It literally eats away at you. It's on your mind daily, and you just, it gets to it's an intense.
Moreover, Tony Bellew doesn't hold back when discussing the rivalry between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. He makes it clear that this fight is about much more than just business. It's personal. Bellew emphasizes that the relationship between these two is far from friendly, with years of tension simmering beneath the surface. He paints a vivid picture of just how deep the animosity runs, stressing that this isn't something either fighter can simply shrug off. Bellew warns that if the two were to meet in a neutral, casual environment, the situation could quickly become volatile. The mental toll of such a rivalry is undeniable, and Bellew, who knows firsthand how personal grudges can gnaw away at a fighter's mind, points out that it's a constant weight that builds over time. When that pressure peaks, there's no telling what could happen inside the ring. Bellew predicts that this fight will be far more than just a technical showdown. It's going to be a war of emotions, a clash that goes beyond boxing. The big question is, can this explosive rivalry be kept under control until fight night, or will the heat of this personal vendetta boil over long before they even step through the ropes?
But yeah, there's no honour in smacking someone with an egg. Shouldn't have happened.
How do you think the fight's going to play out?
I'm backing Conor Benn. I know Conor. I spoke to him a few times. Always been a top bloke to me. His dad's a top bloke. His dad's a legend, and I'll be backing him. But it's going to be difficult, as he's already alluded to, the two weight divisions coming up. But it'll also be difficult for Eubank to stay within that hydration clause, I think it is. So it's all to play for both men.
Meanwhile, Johnny Fisher isn't holding back. He's fully backing Conor Benn, and he's got solid reasons for doing so. Benn isn't just another fighter. He's the son of a boxing legend with the heart and spirit to match. Having had multiple deep conversations with Benn, Fisher has no doubts about his skills or his ability to rise to the occasion. But here's the twist. This fight is no easy task. Benn is stepping up 2 weight divisions, a challenge he's fully aware of and has openly acknowledged. The real question now is, can Eubank Jr. handle the intense pressure of the hydration clause? Fisher believes this could be Eubank's biggest stumbling block and a game-changer for the fight. This is more than just a showdown. It's a massive opportunity for both men to cement their legacies. Benn has the heart, the fire, and the raw talent to go the distance, but it's going to be a battle from the first bell to the last. Everything is on the line. Who will rise to the occasion, and who will crumble under the pressure? The tension is mounting, and the stakes have never been higher.
So, yeah, I think the difficulty for Conor Benn in this fight is the weight and is the size. I think he's a better fighter. And I think at a natural weight class, he's a big favourite in the fight. But coming up 2 weight classes, it makes it a 50-50 fight. And you ain't going to blink.
On the other side, Eddie Hearn doesn't hold back. He believes Conor Benn is walking straight into a nightmare matchup. The real challenge isn't Benn's skill. It's the massive size disadvantage he faces. Moving up 2 weight classes is no small feat, and Hearn sees it as a complete game changer. At his natural weight, Benn would have been the favorite, but now this fight is a gamble. The power difference between Benn and Eubank Jr. is undeniable, and the physicality of Eubank could prove to be a massive obstacle. As Benn steps into the ring against a fighter with superior size and stamina, every moment becomes crucial. One wrong move, and it could all be over. The knockout potential from both sides is sky high, and fans know this isn't just any fight. It's a war. The real question now is, can Benn rise above the weight disadvantage and prove he belongs at this level, or will the extra weight drain his power and expose his vulnerabilities? This fight is a ticking time bomb, and no one knows when it's going to explode. Will Benn shock the world and defy the odds, or will the weight become his biggest downfall?
Conor Benn, he's an animal with a hot head. And as soon as that bell goes, you've only got to watch Nigel Benn's fights and Conor Benn's fights in his career so far to realise he's going to set about him from the first bell.
Eddie Hearn doesn't sugarcoat the reality. Conor Benn is a force of nature, a fighter driven by pure aggression and relentless power. From the moment the bell rings, it's all-out war. There's no feeling-out process, just an intense, full-throttle assault. Ben's career has been a relentless march of destruction, mirroring the legacy of his legendary father. But here's the burning question. Against a bigger, stronger opponent like Eubank Jr., will Ben's fiery style be enough to secure victory? The stakes couldn't be higher, and Ben's all-out approach is both a blessing and a curse. Charging in with that intensity could either overwhelm his opponent or lead to disaster. One misstep, and it could all unravel. What's more, the sheer physicality of Eubank Jr. presents a massive hurdle. This fight is more than just a battle of power. It's about dominance. The real issue is whether Ben can channel his aggression into strategic control, or if his unrelenting pursuit of victory will ultimately become his downfall. Only time will tell.
No, not yet. I need to see what he looks like on the scales. If there was no rehydration clause, I would pick Eubank, but I need to see what he looks like on the scales first, and then if there's a rehydration clause and he already looks bad, it's going to be hard.
Moreover, Carl Frampton isn't holding back. He believes Chris Eubank Jr. might be walking straight into a nightmare, and the brutal truth is, no one is really talking about it. The weight cut is already a tough challenge, but add in a rehydration clause, and it could spell disaster for Eubank's career. Frampton isn't convinced that Eubank will even make it to the ring at full strength. He's waiting to see how Eubank looks on the scales before passing judgment. Without the added restrictions, Frampton would back Eubank all day long. But let's face it, draining yourself before stepping into a high-stakes fight is a recipe for disaster. Eubank has always been a machine in the ring, but if his body betrays him before the first punch is thrown, this won't just be a tough night. It could turn into a one-sided massacre. Frampton sees the writing on the wall. If Eubank looks weak at the weigh-in, this won't be just another fight. It could be the beginning of the end.
Look, it's a really good fight. You can look at it two ways, but I just look at it this way. You know, it's a big fight, and anything can happen, and that's why it's box office, and that's why it's a big draw. So it'll be explosive, and anything can happen in that fight. But I'm looking forward to it.